Welcome to Management Fundamentals, a practical guide designed to help you lead people, make effective decisions, and enhance performance. This course has been developed by Dr. Jawad Sebaali, who brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in management. Throughout this guide, you'll gain valuable insights and tools to become a more confident and successful leader. Let's begin this journey together. By the end of this training, you'll have a clear understanding of the core responsibilities that come with being a manager. We'll explore structured approaches to planning, organizing, leading, and controlling work to help you manage your team more effectively. Communication is key, so you'll learn how to communicate clearly both with your team members and senior leaders. We'll also cover how to handle performance conversations confidently, ensuring you can address issues constructively. Decision making will be approached with consistent and transparent process, helping you make sound choices. Finally, we'll focus on building a team environment rooted in accountability and trust, making these values part of your daily practice. Whether you're new to management or refreshing your skills, this training is designed to support you at every step. Chapter 1 focuses on understanding what management really means, going beyond just a job title. It's important to recognize that becoming a manager isn't simply a reward for doing a great technical job. Instead, management involves a unique set of skills and responsibilities. Being excellent in your own technical role doesn't automatically prepare you to lead others who perform that role. This transition from individual contributor to manager is one of the biggest changes you can experience in your career. So, how do we define management? According to Robbins and Coulter, management is the process of working with and through others to achieve organizational goals efficiently and effectively. This definition highlights two key ideas: the manager's relationship with their team and the importance of achieving results that are both efficient, using resources wisely, and effective, actually meeting the goals. Understanding these concepts sets the foundation for everything we'll explore about management going forward. Henri Fayol, a French mining engineer and management theorist, first introduced the concept of management functions over a century ago. Although he originally identified 5 functions, today's management literature typically focuses on 4 key functions that define what managers do. First is planning. This involves setting clear goals and figuring out the best way to achieve them. Effective planning provides your team with direction and minimizes wasted effort. Next is organizing. This means arranging tasks, roles, and resources in a structured way, so work flows smoothly and efficiently. The third function is leading. Here, we focus on motivating and guiding the team, inspiring them to work towards common objectives. Lastly, there's controlling. This function is about keeping track of progress, evaluating outcomes, and making adjustments whenever necessary to stay on course. Together, these 4 functions form a foundation of effective management. Planning is truly the foundation of effective management. It's important to understand that planning isn't about trying to predict the future. Rather, it's about getting your team ready to respond to whatever comes their way. Having a clear plan provides direction for your work, helps you allocate resources before problems pop up, and creates a shared vision of what success looks like. Without planning, teams often find themselves reacting to events instead of proactively shaping outcomes. Now, when we talk about planning, there are 2 key types to consider. First is strategic planning, which focuses on the long-term direction of the organization. This level of planning is usually led by senior leaders, but it's crucial for every manager to understand the organization's goals so they can align their team's efforts accordingly. Then we have operational planning, which drills down into the specific actions, timelines, and resources needed to achieve those strategic goals. Most managers spend the majority of their planning time here. Operational plans typically cover shorter periods, like weeks or months, making them essential for day-to-day management and execution. Setting goals that effectively guide action is crucial for achieving meaningful results. Vague goals, like telling your team to simply do their best, often lead to unclear outcomes because there's no specific target to aim for. That's why the SMART goal model, developed by George Dorenbach in 1981, is such a valuable tool for goal setting at any management level. Let's break down the 5 components of SMART. First is specific. This means your goal needs to clearly state what exactly has to be done, who is responsible, and the context in which it should happen. Clarity here prevents confusion and directs focused effort. Next, measurable. You need to define how you will track progress and know when the goal has been achieved. Without measurable criteria, it's hard to assess success or make adjustments along the way. Third is achievable. The goal should be realistic, considering the resources and constraint available. Setting unattainable goals only sets the team up for frustration and failure. The fourth element is relevant. Your goals should tie directly to larger team or organizational priorities, ensuring that everyone's efforts contribute meaningfully to broader objectives. Finally, time bound. Establishing a clear deadline creates accountability and a sense of urgency, helping to keep the momentum going and avoid procrastination. By following these smart criteria, you can set goals that are clear, actionable, and aligned with your team's success. When we talk about organizing work and people, it starts with knowing exactly what your team needs to accomplish. Once that's clear, the next step is deciding who does what. Organizing involves defining roles, assigning tasks, allocating resources, and setting up reporting relationships. This structure helps prevent overlapping efforts, reduces confusion about who's responsible for what, and makes accountability much clearer. A critical part of this is role clarity. Every team member should be able to answer three simple questions without hesitation. What is my job? Who do I report to? And who can I go to for support? When these questions aren't answered clearly, misunderstandings are almost inevitable. Role clarity isn't about creating bureaucracy. It's about ensuring smooth, effective teamwork. Another important concept is span of control. This is a number of direct report a manager can effectively supervise. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. It really depends on factors like how complex the tasks are, how experienced the team is, and how much guidance each person needs. Often, new managers underestimate how much individual attention their team members require. So understanding span of control helps in managing teams more effectively. Delegation is about assigning work while still maintaining accountability. It's a crucial management skill, yet many new managers tend to avoid it. Often, they hold on to tasks because they think they could do them faster or better themselves. But as teams grow and workloads increase, this approach quickly becomes unsustainable. Effective delegation benefits everyone. It helps develop your team members, frees up your time for higher level responsibilities, and builds mutual trust. When delegating, it's important to match the task with the right person. Consider their skills and current workload to ensure the task is a good fit. Remember, delegation isn't about offloading unwanted work. It's about purposeful assignment. Next, focus on explaining the outcome you expect, rather than just assigning the task itself. Communicate what success looks like, but give your team the freedom to decide how to achieve it. This fosters creativity and ownership. Setting checkpoints can help you stay informed without micromanaging. Agree on specific review points ahead of time to maintain a balance between oversight and independence. Finally, stay available. Delegation doesn't mean you disappear. Be accessible for questions or support, especially for new or complex tasks. This reassurance helps your team feel supported while they take on greater responsibility. Chapter 2 focuses on what leading people looks like in practice. Leading is a key function of management that directly involves human behavior. It's all about influencing, motivating, and communicating with your team members, while planning and organizing set the stage by creating the necessary conditions for work. Leading is what actually drives those plans into real results. Importantly, leadership isn't about having charisma or just being the senior person. It's about demonstrating consistent behaviors that your team can depend on. This trust and reliability form the foundation of effective leadership. Management and leadership are terms that we often use as if they mean the same thing, but they actually refer to different concepts. Understanding this difference is crucial because it helps us know when to apply each approach effectively. Management is all about systems, processes, and outputs. It's focused on making sure work gets done consistently, reliably, and within set boundaries. In essence, management is concerned with the question, are we doing things right? It's about efficiency, control, and maintaining order. Leadership, on the other hand, centers on people, direction, and change. It's about inspiring commitment, influencing behavior, and guiding the organization toward new goals over time. Leadership asks a different question. Are we doing the right things? It is more about vision, motivation, and innovation. If a manager only manages without showing leadership, they tend to keep things as they are, sticking to the status quo. Conversely, a leader without management discipline may inspire the team, but struggle to achieve consistent results. The key is to blend both. Combine the discipline of management with the inspiration of leadership. John Kotter, a well-known professor at Harvard Business School, explores this distinction in depth, especially in his 1990 book, A Force for Change. His work helps clarify why both management and leadership are essential for success. Understanding what motivates each person on your team is crucial for consistent performance. It's a mistake to assume everyone is driven by the same things, like money or fear of losing their job. Motivation is deeply personal, and the most effective managers take the time to learn what truly drives each individual. One useful framework is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which suggests that people are motivated first by basic necessities like food and shelter, then by safety, social belonging, esteem, and ultimately self-actualization. For example, if someone is worried about keeping their job, they won't be motivated by opportunities for creative growth until those basic concerns are addressed. Another important theory is Herzberg's two-factor theory. Herzberg found that factors such as salary and working conditions mainly prevent dissatisfaction, but don't actually motivate employees. Real motivation comes from internal factors like achievement, recognition, and meaningful work. Finally, Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory highlights three core psychological needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When people feel in control of their work, believe they're developing skills, and feel connected to others, they naturally become more engaged and motivated. Understanding these different theories helps managers create an environment where everyone can thrive. Situational leadership is all about recognizing that not every team member needs the same leadership approach at the same time. This model, developed by Hersey and Blanchard in the 1970s and refined over the years, suggests that effective managers adapt their style based on where each individual stands in terms of both competence and commitment for a specific task. What makes this model so practical is that it focuses on day-to-day management by tailoring leadership to the person's current needs. A crucial point here is that you must assess each person's development level for each task separately. It's not about making a general judgment on someone's overall ability. For example, someone might be an expert in one area but totally new and inexperienced in another. This flexibility allows managers to provide the right support or challenge based on the situation, helping each team member grow and perform effectively. Communication is much more than just sharing information. It's the way we build alignment within our teams, resolve confusion, and signal what truly matters. In fact, poor communication is often one of the main reasons teams struggle or projects fall apart. As a manager, how you communicate sets the tone for the entire flow of information within your team. One key point to remember is that clarity is more important than volume. Sending more messages or holding frequent meetings doesn't necessarily improve communication. It's better to deliver brief, direct messages that focus on the key takeaway. Before you share anything, ask yourself, what's the one thing my audience really needs to understand? Another crucial but often overlooked skill is listening. Active listening means fully focusing on the speaker without preparing your response while they're still talking. It involves asking clarifying questions to ensure you truly understand before jumping to solutions. Managers who master this skill tend to identify problems earlier, build stronger trust with their teams, and make decisions based on better information. Good communication, then, is a two-way street that starts with both clear expression and genuine listening. Feedback is essential for improving performance. Without it, people tend to repeat the same behaviors, both good and bad, without realizing the impact. Many managers shy away from giving difficult feedback because it feels uncomfortable, but avoiding honest conversations isn't kindness. It actually leaves your team members without the insights they need to grow and improve. When giving feedback, it's important to be specific. Vague comments like, "You need to be more professional," don't give anyone clear direction. Instead, focus on naming the behavior, the context, and the effect it had. For example, saying in Tuesday's client call, you interrupted the client twice before they finished speaking, which created tension in the room, makes it clear what happened and why it matters. That kind of feedback is actionable. Timing also matters. Feedback loses much of its value if it's given weeks after the event. It's best to address behavior as soon as you can, while everything is fresh in your mind and the other person's. This immediacy helps both parties recall the details accurately and makes the feedback more effective. Finally, make feedback a two-way street. Ask for feedback from your team as well. When you show that you're open to receiving feedback, it helps to balance power in the conversation and makes it less intimidating. Plus, you gain valuable insights about your own management style that you might not have noticed otherwise. In this chapter, we focus on the controlling function of management, which is often misunderstood. Many think controlling means simply watching people or catching mistakes after they happen. However, it's much more proactive than that. Controlling is about establishing a system that keeps your team's efforts aligned with goals, helps spot deviations early, and enables timely corrections before small problems escalate into big issues. Think of control as a forward-looking process, designed to guide and improve performance rather than to punish. The three-step cycle we'll explore, based on well-regarded management theories from Robbins and Coulter, is versatile and can be applied across various contexts, whether you're managing projects, leading service teams, or overseeing production processes. Here we're looking at three main types of control used in management. First, feed-forward control happens before any work begins. It's all about prevention, making sure we have the right people, training, and tools in place from the start. Think of a pre-project checklist as a practical example. This approach is the most cost-effective because it stops problems before they even arise. Next is concurrent control, which takes place while the work is happening. This involves closely monitoring activities in real time and making any necessary adjustments on the spot. For instance, a manager who actively reviews work in progress and provides immediate feedback is using concurrent control. This type requires both visibility into the process and the ability to act quickly. Lastly, feedback control comes into play after the work is completed. It focuses on evaluating the results, identifying successes and failures, and using that information to improve future projects. Examples include project debriefs or monthly performance reviews. Although feedback control is the most common, it's also reactive, meaning it addresses issues after they've occurred rather than preventing them. When it comes to measuring performance, it's important to strike the right balance between staying informed and micromanaging. Micromanagement means constantly looking over your team's shoulder, directing every small detail, which can hurt their confidence and sense of ownership. On the other hand, staying informed is about having just enough visibility to spot issues early and step in with support when it's truly needed. To do this effectively, start by defining what you will measure. Focus on the key indicators that align with your team's goals and actually show whether the work is progressing well. Not everything needs to be tracked, only the metrics that provide meaningful signals. Make sure your team knows what these indicators are and understands why they're important. Finally, review progress at regular intervals. Having scheduled check-ins adds predictability and encourages your team to manage their tasks proactively. Surprising your team with impromptu reviews tends to increase stress without improving results. Consistency helps create a healthy, transparent performance culture. In management, decision-making is a constant process, ranging from small, routine choices to significant, impactful ones. The quality of these decisions directly influences team performance, trust, and overall results. Developing a consistent approach helps minimize bias, enhances outcome quality, and makes your reasoning clear to everyone involved. First, it's crucial to define the problem clearly. If you address the wrong problem, you risk wasting time and creating new issues. So, begin by asking exactly what needs to be solved and why. Next, gather relevant information by identifying what you know, what you still need to learn, and where to find this information reliably. Then, generate options. Avoid settling on the first reasonable idea you come up with. Instead, come up with multiple possible solutions before evaluating them. After that, evaluate each option carefully. Consider how each aligns with your goals and constraints, and think through the likely consequences for your team and organization. Finally, act on your decision and set a specific point in time to review the outcome. This allows you to assess whether the decision achieved the intended results and to learn from the experience. Our brains naturally take shortcuts when we process information, which we call cognitive biases. These shortcuts can be helpful in daily life, but in management, They can lead to poor decision making. Recognizing your own biases is crucial, even though it doesn't completely eliminate their influence. One common bias is confirmation bias, where we tend to favor information that supports what we already believe. This means managers might ignore important data that contradicts the preferred options, missing opportunities for better choices. Then there's the availability heuristic, where we give too much weight to information that's easy to recall, often because it's recent or emotionally charged, instead of focusing on data that is more statistically relevant. Anchoring bias occurs when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. In situations like negotiations or performance reviews, this can distort our judgments, and once an anchor is set, it's tough to adjust our thinking. Finally, groupthink happens when maintaining team harmony becomes more important than honest debate. Managers who discourage dissent and reward agreement risk stifling critical analysis. This concept was first identified by psychologist Irving Janis in 1972 after examining major policy failures. Understanding these biases helps us make more balanced, objective decisions and avoid common pitfalls in management. Every management decision we make comes with an ethical dimension. Some ethical questions are quite clear, like how we handle confidential information or whether we need to report violations of rules. But other ethical concerns might be less obvious. For example, how we assign work, who we choose to give development opportunities to, or how we react when a team member makes a mistake all carry ethical weight too. To help guide these decisions, I recommend a simple but effective test. Before finalizing any decision, ask yourself 3 questions. Would I be comfortable if my manager could see exactly what I'm doing and why? Would I feel okay if a respected colleague knew about it? And would I be comfortable if it became public? If the answer to any of these is no, that's a clear sign to rethink the decision. Finally, consistency is key. People don't just judge fairness based on a single decision. They look at patterns over time. When managers apply rules inconsistently, whether on purpose or not, it causes uncertainty and can lead to feelings of favoritism. Being consistent and transparent isn't just good practice. It's essential for building trust between managers and employees. Chapter 5 focuses on managing team performance. One key idea here is that managing performance is not just a once-a-year event, but an ongoing process. When performance management is limited to an annual review, issues tend to build up, growth opportunities are overlooked, and team members don't get the constructive guidance they need throughout the year. High-performing managers avoid this by treating performance management as a continuous conversation that happens naturally within daily work. This approach involves 4 essential steps: planning, acting, reviewing, and developing. By consistently cycling through these stages, managers can keep their teams aligned, motivated, and continuously improving. One of the most important steps to improving team performance is setting clear expectations. When team members aren't sure what's expected of them, it often leads to confusion and inconsistent results. They might guess what you want, which can lead to mistakes, or they might waste time asking questions that could have been answered up front. Clear expectations minimize confusion, increase accountability, and ultimately save time for everyone. It's crucial to describe the standard you expect. Don't just tell your team member what to do. Also explain what success looks like. For example, what does a well-done task or project actually look like? The more detailed and concrete you are about these standards, the easier it is for your team to deliver exactly what you need. Also, remember to address the how, not just the what. Some roles require specific behaviors, like how team members communicate, collaborate, or respond. If these behaviors matter in your team, be upfront about them. Don't wait until problems arise to bring these expectations to light. Finally, always confirm understanding. Simply asking, "Do you understand?" often isn't enough. Instead, ask your team member to repeat back what they heard. This isn't a test. It's a way to make sure your message came across clearly, because ensuring understanding is ultimately your responsibility as a manager. Underperformance rarely improves on its own. If it's left unchecked, it not only affects the individual struggling, but also impacts the whole team because everyone notices when standards aren't being upheld. As a manager, it's important to address these issues early, directly, and with the genuine goal of helping the person improve. Before jumping to solutions, it's crucial to diagnose the root cause. Performance problems can stem from different issues. Someone might lack the necessary skills, or they might have the skills but be unclear on what's expected. Sometimes they know what's expected but don't have the right tools or authority to do the job properly. Other times, personal issues outside of work might be impacting their performance. Recognizing these different causes is key because treating all underperformance as simply a motivation problem is a common and costly mistake. Also, make sure to document your conversations. Keeping a brief record of what was discussed, the agreements made, and the next steps protects both you and the employee. It also ensures that future conversations can build on what was previously addressed, so you're not starting from scratch every time a similar issue comes up. This approach helps create a clear, fair, and constructive path to improve performance. Recognizing good performance is not just a nice to have. It's a critical management tool that directly influences motivation, retention, and the culture of our teams. Research from Gallup, including their 2022 State of the Global Workplace Report, clearly shows that employees who feel recognized tend to be more productive and are less likely to leave their organization. When it comes to recognition, there are different ways to approach it. Public recognition, for example, involves acknowledging someone's good work in a team meeting or through group communication. This approach not only celebrates the individual, but also signals to the entire team what behaviors and achievements are valued. It's important to be specific here. Naming the exact action and explaining its impact makes the praise more meaningful than just a general compliment. On the other hand, private recognition can be equally powerful. A one-on-one conversation or a brief personal message that says something like, "I noticed what you did and it really mattered," can resonate deeply with some team members. For them, this personal touch carries more weight than public acknowledgement. Lastly, offering development opportunities is an exceptional way to recognize high performers. Assigning a stretch project, giving leadership roles, or providing access to learning and growth resources sends a strong message. You see their potential and are invested in their future. This kind of recognition not only rewards past achievements, but also fuels ongoing growth and engagement. In this chapter, we're focusing on building and managing teams. It's important to understand that just having a group of people reporting to the same manager doesn't automatically make them a team. A true team works interdependently toward a shared goal. They have clearly defined roles, hold each other mutually accountable, and can handle conflicts in a constructive way. Creating and nurturing this kind of team is one of the most challenging yet rewarding parts of management. To help us understand how teams develop, we'll look at the five-stage model introduced by psychologist Bruce Tuckman back in 1965. This model is still the most popular framework for describing how teams grow and evolve over time. Conflict within a team is a natural part of working together, and when managed effectively, it can actually enhance our decision-making by bringing different viewpoints to the table. The real issue arises when conflict goes unmanaged, which can erode trust, hinder collaboration, and even push valuable team members away. The first step is to identify the type of conflict we're dealing with. Task conflict involves disagreements about how to approach work, and when handled properly, it can lead to better outcomes. On the other hand, relationship conflict stems from personal friction and rarely leads to positive results. It's important to address conflict directly, because ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It just drives it beneath the surface. Bringing the involved parties together, focusing on specific behaviors and their impact rather than personal traits, and aiming for agreed-upon next steps helps keep the conversation constructive without blaming anyone. Finally, following up after the initial discussion is crucial. Checking in with both parties shows that team dynamics are a priority and allows us to catch any lingering issues early before they escalate again. This process helps maintain a healthy, productive team environment. Psychological safety in teams is all about creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable speaking up, taking risks, and making mistakes without worrying about punishment or humiliation. This concept was extensively researched by Amy Edmondson from Harvard Business School, and she first introduced it back in 1999. Later, Google took this idea further with Project Aristotle, a study that showed psychological safety is actually the most important factor for team effectiveness across hundreds of teams. So what does psychological safety look like in practice? It means team members can ask questions without feeling embarrassed. They're able to admit errors without fear of blame. They share early stage ideas openly, without having to defend them aggressively. They challenge each other respectfully. Importantly, none of this happens by chance. It requires a manager who consistently models these behaviors. As a manager, you create psychological safety by responding positively when someone brings up a problem. You admit your own mistakes openly to set an example. You ask genuine questions instead of just giving orders, and you treat disagreement as valuable information rather than insubordination. These might seem like small daily actions, but over time, they build a strong foundation of trust and openness within the team. This chapter focuses on communication structures within organizations and the different directions through which information flows. Communication doesn't just travel in one way. It moves downward, upward, and laterally, and each path presents its own unique challenges and responsibilities for managers. Starting with downward communication, this is when managers pass information down to their teams. This includes setting goals, giving instructions, providing feedback, and sharing organizational news. One key risk here is relying too much on one-way communication, which can leave employees without the chance to ask questions or clarify what they don't understand. Next, upward communication moves from team members back to managers. This might involve updates on project progress, raising concerns, or sharing new ideas. It's important that managers actively encourage this kind of communication because team members often hold back, especially if they think the news might be negative or unwelcome. Finally, lateral communication flows between peers and across different teams, and this is the space where collaboration truly happens. Problems in this area often lead to duplicated efforts, missed handoffs, and friction between departments. Ensuring strong lateral communication is crucial to keeping the organization efficient and harmonious. Understanding these communication paths helps managers ensure their teams get the information they need, and that important feedback makes its way up and across the organization. Meetings can be costly, and every hour spent in a poorly run meeting is an hour taken away from productive work. Unfortunately, many organizations hold too many meetings, often with too many attendees and no clear purpose or outcomes. How you manage your meeting speaks volumes about how much you value your team's time. The first key to running effective meetings is to start with a clear purpose. Every meeting needs a specific reason for happening. Simply saying it's for an update isn't enough. Instead, focus on concrete objectives like deciding on the budget allocation for the next quarter or resolving specific issues, such as communication between departments. If you can't clearly state the meeting's purpose in one sentence, it probably doesn't need to happen. The second essential point is to invite only those who truly need to be there. Inviting people out of habit or to avoid leaving anyone out is a waste of their valuable time. Be intentional about your guest list and make it okay for people to decline if their presence isn't necessary. Finally, always end the meeting with clear action steps. Summarize the decisions made, assign next steps to named individuals, and set deadlines. Without this level of clarity, meetings become little more than discussions without real progress. By following these principles, your meetings will be more focused, respectful of everyone's time, and ultimately more productive. Written communication plays a huge role in management. Whether it's emails, reports, or internal messages, much of our communication happens through writing. One of the key advantages is that writing creates a permanent record and can reach people at different times, often going further than spoken words. Because of this, clarity and precision are absolutely essential. When writing, always lead with the main point. Unlike storytelling, where you build to a conclusion, business writing should start with a conclusion first. Put the most important information right at the beginning. This helps your reader quickly understand the relevance of your message. If your main point is buried deep in the text, it might be missed completely. It's also crucial to write for the reader, not yourself. Before you start writing, think about who will be reading your message and what they need to know. Tailor your language, the level of detail, and your tone to fit your audience. For example, communication with your direct team will look very different from communication intended for senior leadership. When you consider the reader's context, your writing becomes much more effective. In Chapter 8, we're focusing on managing change, which is an ever-present part of organizational life. Whether it's restructuring, adopting new technologies, updating processes, or shifting priorities. Change happens regularly. As a manager, your role isn't just to roll out these changes, but to guide your team through them. That means helping them understand what's happening, supporting their response, and keeping performance steady throughout the transition. How you handle this process will deeply impact your team's trust in you moving forward. One of the most recognized approaches to managing change is a model developed by John Kotter, outlined in his book Leading Change. This model continues to be a foundational guide for effectively leading change in organizations. Resistance to change is often seen as a barrier, but it's important to understand that it's not irrational. People resist change for very understandable reasons that make sense from their own perspectives. When we grasp these reasons, we can address them directly instead of just labeling resistance as stubbornness or lack of engagement. One major reason is fear of the unknown. When people aren't clear about how change will affect their roles, relationships, or daily routines, anxiety naturally takes hold. The best way to counter this is through clear, honest, and early communication about what is going to change and what will stay the same. This transparency helps reduce uncertainty and builds trust. Another key factor is the loss of control. When change is forced upon people without their input, resistance tends to increase. If possible, involving your team in decisions about how the change will be implemented, even if the change itself isn't negotiable, can significantly reduce this resistance by giving them a sense of participation and control. Concerns about competence also play a big role. People who have grown confident in their current way of working may fear that change will highlight their skill gaps. Offering training, adequate time to adapt, and reassurance can help ease these worries and support a smoother transition. Lastly, previous bad experiences with poorly managed change make people skeptical. Building trust by consistently following through on promises during change initiatives is crucial to overcoming this form of resistance. When people see reliable leadership and clear results, they're more likely to embrace change rather than resist it. When your team is going through change, they'll be looking to you for cues on how serious the situation is, how well it's being managed, and whether their concerns are being taken into account. Your actions and words carry much more weight than any official announcement. So, it's crucial to be honest about what you know and what you don't. Trying to fake answers just create a false sense of security that quickly breaks down trust. Instead, it's better to say something like, "I don't have that answer yet, but I'll share as soon as I do." Also, try to keep routines as stable as possible. When everything is uncertain, maintaining regular meetings and normal processes helps provide a sense of psychological stability. Changing too many things at once only increases anxiety. And don't forget to acknowledge the emotional side of change. Even positive change can bring uncertainty and stress. By recognizing that it's normal to feel this way, you show empathy and build the trust that helps your team stay strong and perform well through the transition. Chapter 9 focuses on time management for managers, emphasizing that time is a resource we can never get back once it's gone. Managers who fail to manage their time often find themselves constantly reacting to the loudest or most urgent interruptions instead of focusing on what truly matters. Effective time management isn't about cramming more tasks into your day. It's about consistently directing your attention to work that has the highest impact. One powerful tool to help with this is the Eisenhower Matrix, named after President Dwight D. Eisenhower and made popular by Stephen Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This matrix categorizes tasks into 4 groups: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. A common pitfall for many managers is spending too much time on tasks that are urgent but not important, while neglecting those that are important but not urgent, where planning and development happen. Another critical aspect of time management for managers is protecting thinking time. Deep work, such as thinking strategically, planning, problem solving, and writing, requires focused, uninterrupted time. However, many managers fill their schedules with back-to-back meetings and constant requests, leaving no room for this reflective work that leads to better decisions and stronger plans. To counter this, it's essential to block out dedicated time on your calendar for focus work and treat it as seriously as any external meeting. This practice helps ensure you have the mental space needed to lead effectively. Prioritization isn't about doing less. It's about focusing on the right things first. In the middle of a busy workday, everything can feel urgent and important, which makes it tough to decide what to tackle next. A simple and consistent method helps make those decisions easier and more reliable over time. The first step is to list all your active commitments. You want to have a complete picture of everything you're responsible for, including both your own tasks and those you support within your team. Next, identify the highest impact items. Ask yourself which tasks, when completed, will most advance your team's goals or remove the biggest obstacles to progress. These are the things that deserve your top attention. Then, sequence the rest honestly. Not everything can be a top priority. Be truthful with yourself and others about what will be done when. Overpromising and underdelivering harms your credibility more than being upfront about your schedule. Finally, review and adjust your priorities daily. Priorities naturally shift, so a quick look at your list at the start or end of each day keeps it current. This way, you avoid spending effort on what's no longer the best use of your time. Chapter 10 focuses on developing yourself as a manager. Management isn't a fixed destination, but an ongoing practice that grows through experience, reflection, and intentional learning. The best managers continuously improve by prioritizing their own development just as much as they do their team's growth. Relying solely on your organization to invest in your development isn't enough. You need to take ownership of your own growth. One key way to grow is by seeking feedback actively. Don't wait for the annual performance review. Instead, regularly ask your manager, peers, and team members for specific, honest input on how you're doing. Frequent, informal feedback is much more effective at accelerating your development than rare, formal assessments. Equally important is reflecting on your experiences. Simply going through challenging situations isn't enough to learn from them. After a tough conversation, a project that didn't go as planned, or an unexpected outcome, take time to think about what happened and why. Ask yourself what you would do differently and what you've learned about yourself. Honest reflection like this drives meaningful change in your behavior and helps you become a better manager over time. Emotional intelligence is a crucial skill for effective management. It's about recognizing and understanding both your own emotions and those of the people around you, then using that awareness to guide your actions and decisions. This idea was first introduced by psychologists Peter Salovey and John Mayer in 1990, and later made widely known by Daniel Goleman in his book from 1995. Research shows that emotional intelligence often predicts success in management better than just technical skills or intelligence. Let's look at the key components. First is self-awareness, which means knowing your own emotions, what triggers them, and how you typically respond. This is essential because you can't manage your emotions if you don't understand them. Next is self-regulation, the ability to control your emotional reactions, especially during stressful situations. Avoiding impulsive responses helps maintain your credibility as a leader. Empathy is another critical aspect. It involves truly understanding where others are coming from emotionally and responding with genuine care. Importantly, empathy doesn't mean you have to agree with someone. It's about seeing things from their point of view. Lastly, social skills are vital for building strong relationships, communicating clearly, and influencing others positively. Together, these elements form a foundation of emotional intelligence and management and contribute to more effective leadership. When we talk about mentoring and coaching, we're really focusing on development, which is one of the most lasting impacts a manager can have. By investing in your team members' growth, you're not just improving how they perform today, but you're also enhancing their long-term capabilities. This approach builds a stronger team over time and establishes you as a manager who truly makes people better. Coaching is all about current performance and specific skills. Instead of simply giving answers, coaching means asking the right questions, guiding your team members to find their own solutions. This helps build their confidence and abilities in the moment. A productive coaching conversation should leave them feeling more capable and independent, rather than more reliant on you. Mentoring, on the other hand, takes a broader view. It's about sharing your experience, offering perspective on career development, and helping someone navigate both the organization and their profession over the long run. Mentoring tends to be less formal than coaching and depends heavily on a trusted relationship developed through multiple meaningful conversations. Together, coaching and mentoring form a powerful combination for growing your team. Let's take a closer look at a real-world example of management transformation at Microsoft. When Satya Nadella became CEO in 2014, he led a significant cultural shift within the company. Instead of focusing on internal competition and individual performance metrics, Microsoft embraced a growth mindset inspired by psychologist Carol Dweck. This approach emphasized learning, collaboration, and continuous improvement. In practical terms, this meant changing how managers were evaluated. The focus moved away from individual achievements to teamwork, knowledge sharing, and fostering an environment where teams could thrive. Forced rankings were eliminated because they had previously prioritized individual success over collective outcomes. The results speak for themselves. Between 2014 and 2019, Microsoft's market value soared, and employee engagement improved significantly. These changes caught the attention of major publications like the Washington Post and Harvard Business Review, which highlighted Microsoft transformation as a powerful example of how evolving management philosophy can drive organizational success. Chapter 11 focuses on managing across generations and cultures, which is increasingly important as today's teams are more diverse than ever before. This diversity isn't just about differences in age or ethnicity. It's about recognizing how people's backgrounds, experiences, and expectations influence the way they work, communicate, and want to be recognized. As managers, our role is to understand these differences carefully and respond thoughtfully, avoiding assumptions. When it comes to generational diversity, different age groups bring varied work experiences and communication styles. They also have different expectations about management. But it's important to remember that these differences aren't set in stone. Instead of making assumptions based on someone's age, we should ask individuals directly about their preferences to better support and engage them. Cultural diversity also plays a significant role in the workplace. People's cultural backgrounds influence how they view authority, how openly they communicate, and what they expect from their leaders. The research of Geert Hofstede, particularly his work on cultural dimensions, gives us valuable insights into how national culture impacts workplace behavior. Understanding these cultural differences helps us manage more effectively in a globalized environment. When we talk about inclusion as a management practice, it's important to understand that it's much more than just a policy statement. Inclusion involves daily behaviors from managers who make sure that every team member has equitable access to information, opportunities, and recognition. This isn't about treating everyone exactly the same, because people come from different backgrounds and have different needs. Instead, it's about meeting those diverse needs fairly. One key way to practice inclusion is through how you manage meetings. Pay attention to who speaks up and who stays quiet. Often, some people are more comfortable asserting themselves in group settings, while others might need a direct invitation to share their thoughts. Structured approaches, like asking each person for their opinion, using written pre-work, or checking in with quieter team members afterward, can help bring out a wider range of perspectives and lead to better decisions. Another crucial area is ensuring equitable access to opportunities. Studies by Herminie Barra and others, including research published in the Harvard Business Review, show that informal networks and subconscious biases play a big role in who gets chances for development, high-profile projects, or sponsorship. As a manager, it's essential to regularly review your own decision-making patterns and make conscious efforts to broaden who you include in these opportunities. This ongoing awareness is a practical step toward true inclusion. Chapter 12 focuses on managing remote and hybrid teams, a critical area as more work happens outside traditional office spaces. While many management principles still apply, leading remote teams requires us to adapt our approach intentionally. Since we can't see our team members daily, communication needs to be more deliberate, expectations must be crystal clear, and trust has to be actively cultivated. One key challenge is communication. In an office, informal chats and quick questions happen naturally, but that doesn't occur remotely. To bridge this gap, we need to establish regular, structured communication routines and ensure there are easy ways for team members to connect informally. Another important point is realizing that visibility doesn't equal performance. Just because someone isn't immediately available online or responding instantly doesn't mean they aren't productive. Our focus should be on their outputs and meeting agreed upon deliverables. This mindset shift usually needs open discussion with both your team and your own manager. Finally, trust is a foundation of effective remote teams, but it won't just happen on its own. We have to build it through consistent one-on-one meetings, predictable communication patterns, and by following through on our commitments. Research shows, particularly from Sebaali Neely's book, Remote Work Revolution, that trust is the single most crucial factor driving success in remote teamwork. So, nurturing trust actively is essential for any team working apart. One-to-one meetings between a manager and a direct report are incredibly powerful for building trust, tracking progress, and supporting personal development. Yet, they're often the first to be dropped when things get busy. Protecting these meetings sends a clear message to both you and your team member that the relationship truly matters. A key to making these meetings effective is letting the team member set the agenda. Instead of using the time solely to gather updates, invite them to bring their priorities. This changes the dynamic from a routine status report to a meaningful, two-way conversation. It's also important to cover both the current work and the person's development. Talk about what's going well, any roadblocks, and decisions that need to be made. At the same time, dedicate part of the conversation to long-term growth. Giving equal attention to both ensures nothing important gets overlooked. Finally, always close with clear next steps. Agree on what will happen next and who is responsible. Jotting down these takeaways turns a meeting from just a chat into a real commitment. This approach keeps both of you aligned and accountable moving forward. Managing upward is all about actively building a strong working relationship with your manager. It's not simply about getting approval or playing office politics. Rather, it's about setting things up so your manager can support you in the best way possible. This means giving them the right information, raising any problems early, and making sure your team's work is clearly connected to the organization's key goals. One important habit is to communicate proactively. Don't wait for your manager to check in with you. Take the initiative to provide regular, concise updates that show your progress, highlight any risks, and bring up decisions that need their input. When a manager is well informed, they're in a much better position to advocate for your team and give you the freedom you need to do your job effectively. Another crucial point is to understand your manager's priorities. Knowing what they're aiming to achieve helps you frame your team's work in a way that really matters to them. This isn't about flattery. It's about clear and effective communication. A simple but powerful step is to ask your manager directly what success looks like for them this quarter and how your team can best contribute to that. This kind of alignment is key to working well together and driving meaningful results. In this chapter, we delve into the critical topic of ethics, accountability, and management responsibility. As managers, we wield significant authority over professional lives of our team members, and with that authority comes a heavy responsibility, legal, organizational, and personal. Acting ethically means more than just avoiding obvious wrongdoing. It means making decisions that are fair, transparent, and justifiable to anyone who has a legitimate interest in them. Let's talk about accountability to your team. Your team relies on you to provide honest feedback, to advocate for their interests with leadership, to keep your promises, and to treat everyone fairly. Breaking that trust, even once in a noticeable way, can be incredibly hard to fix. A manager who consistently acts with honesty and transparency earns and maintains trust over time. Then there's accountability to the organization. As a manager, you are a steward of valuable resources, time, money, people, and the organization's reputation. Every decision about how to use these resources should prioritize the organization's best interests, rather than simply your team's preferences or your own convenience. Finally, accountability to yourself is paramount. Integrity means behaving the same way whether or not anyone is watching. Managers who apply inconsistent standards depending on the audience foster a culture of unfairness and confusion. Holding yourself to the high standards you expect from your team not only models the right behavior, but also builds a strong, ethical workplace culture. Managing your own well-being is not just a personal choice. It's a key part of your role as a manager. When you're exhausted or overwhelmed, it affects the quality of your decisions, the clarity of your communication, and it sets a poor example for your team. The World Health Organization even recognizes burnout as a legitimate occupational issue, defining it as a syndrome caused by chronic workplace stress that hasn't been properly managed. Burnout doesn't happen overnight. It gradually builds up through ongoing pressure, insufficient rest, and losing connection with the purpose of your work. Some common warning signs to watch for include feeling persistently tired even after rest, struggling with tasks that used to be easy, and growing cynical or disengaged from your work and the organization. So, what can managers do to prevent burnout? It starts with setting clear boundaries around your work hours and sticking to them. Delegation is also crucial. Share the workload to avoid overload. Make sure to carve out genuine recovery time where you truly disconnect, rather than just switching to email from home. And importantly, foster a team culture that views taking time to recharge as a strength, not a weakness. When managers model these sustainable habits, they empower their teams to do the same. Let's review the key points we've covered in this training. First, management is built on 4 core functions: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Each plays a critical role, and skipping any of these can negatively impact how well your team performs. Next, remember that people are the most important factor. While systems and processes are necessary, it's the individuals operating them who truly shape outcomes. Factors like motivation, trust, communication, and psychological safety aren't just soft issues. They are crucial to your team's success. Consistent behavior is another essential element of good management. Trust develops over time through reliability. Your everyday actions, how you communicate, make decisions, and handle challenges, shape your reputation far more than any isolated event. Finally, development never stops. The best managers are those who continuously learn, seek feedback, and reflect on their experiences. They actively work on improving their skills just as seriously as they focus on developing their team. Embracing this mindset will help you grow and lead more effectively over time. Thank you for being a part of this training. We've covered a lot of important information and practical tips to help you grow as a manager. Your dedication to working through this material shows a true commitment to your development, and that dedication is what sets you apart. As Peter Drucker said, the quality of management in an organization determines the quality of the experience of everyone who works there. This reminds us that good management is not just about tasks or policies, but about the overall experience and environment we create. Management is a skill that requires ongoing practice and persistence. Every meaningful conversation you have with your team, every thoughtful decision you make, and every time you choose honesty over convenience, you're making progress. Keep learning, keep engaging, and keep investing in the people around you. That's what real, effective management looks like in action. Here are the key references that underpin the concepts we discussed throughout this presentation. For core management principles, we draw from foundational texts by Robbins and Coulter, Drucker, Fayol, and Cotter, whose works have shaped how we understand leadership and organizational change. When it comes to motivation and human behavior, essential theories come from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Herzberg's motivation theory, Deci and Ryan's work on intrinsic motivation, Goleman's insights on emotional intelligence, and Dweck's research on mindset. Regarding teams, culture, and change, important contributions include Tuckman's stages of group development, Edmondson's research on psychological safety, Google's Project Aristotle on team effectiveness, Hofstede's cultural dimensions, Neely's exploration of remote work, and Janice's study of groupthink. Finally, for productivity and well-being, we reference Covey's Habits of Highly Effective People, Doran's SMART criteria for goal setting, the World Health Organization's classifications, Gallup's workplace reports, and Hersey and Blanchard's management of organizational behavior. Together, these sources provide a comprehensive foundation for understanding effective management and organizational dynamics. Before we conclude, I want to highlight an important disclaimer. This training material is designed solely for internal use, and while we've done our best to provide accurate information, there may still be errors or omissions. The author does not take responsibility for any decisions or actions you may take based on this content. It's important to use your own professional judgment and, when dealing with complex legal or regulatory matters, consult with qualified specialists. Remember, this material is not a substitute for specialized legal or professional advice. Please use it carefully and thoughtfully.